I've been a performer. Sang for the highs and lows alike, for the good times and the bad times and the titans and the dwarfs.
Nigeria's leadership narrative is often painted as one of self-interest and lack of strategic vision. The absence of a clear, unifying vision, which we have spoken about many times on this program.
And this morning.
My partner is always asking, where is Nigeria's vision? Where do our leaders want to take us? If only they told us where they wanted to take us, we just might line up behind them. You never know. But as it is, I don't think any leader has come out and given us a vision yet. Or am I mistaken?
Maybe. Maybe not.
I may be. So we are heading into a new year. And like my partner said as we were going on break, everything rises and falls on leadership. Now, let's have a conversation around this now with two people who are very well known in all the work that they have done and in all the training that they have given to people on leadership. The first is Mrs. Juliet Benitier, who is versed in women leadership, and she's of the Institute for National Transformation, Nigeria. She is in our studio in Abuja. Mrs. Benitier, good morning.
Good morning, Auntie Alero and Ayo. Compliments of the season.
And with her also in our studio in Abuja is a leadership consultant, Mr. Linus Okorie. Morning, Mr. Okorie.
Good morning, and good morning, great people of Nigeria.
Let me begin by being very simplistic indeed. We have often spoken with both of you on different occasions, Mr. Okorie, not for a long time, I must add, about leadership in our nation. So we haven't really had good leadership, but a new year is around the corner. And let me start by asking, do we dare be optimistic about what leadership is going to be like in our country in 2025? Mrs. Benitier, please.
Thank you very much, and indeed, compliment of the season, and good morning, Nigeria. The reality is that the leadership question and the leadership issue has been the bane of our existence. And leadership needs to be understood. There is an assumption that because a man or woman is in position, she has understanding of leadership. As I have done nation building and transformational leadership in the last decade, over a decade now, of both research and training, we have realized that the understanding of leadership is marred. We have all kinds of leadership. We have autocratic leadership, we have transformational leadership, servant leadership, and etc. The reality is that Nigeria leaders have not understood leadership. And leadership all over the world had a transformation through the years. The England we know today, the United States we know today did not start, especially England. England is a big case study, and Switzerland, Germany, for Nigeria to study, because they themselves went through various levels of leadership to get to where they are today. And like you and I were saying, the issue of vision. Leadership is actually built on vision. And why someone like Maxwell and many says everything rises and falls on leadership, he did not say everything rises and falls on leaders. It's leadership. And there's a difference between leader and leadership. Leadership is the act of leading to transform things from one particular level to the other, normally progressively. But we realize that many do not understand what leadership is. We actually think as Africans that leadership is automated. It is not an automation. You are not born with capacity to do it if you have never been trained. And when the former speakers, they were talking about the leadership espoused by someone like Chief Awolowo within the Western region, with a focus and especially on education and many others. But we need to realize that on a national level, we do not understand the cohesiveness of nationhood. Nationhood itself is a study. Look at the United Arab Emirates. Many of us do not understand why it's called the United Arab Emirates. It's a unity of emirates and kingdoms coming together to form a nation that is functional. Because they had a choice, they had a vision. Everything actually starts with the vision, because vision propels discipline and paves the path for proper leadership. Nigeria has not defined herself properly. But when you look at our documents, like we do in the Institute, we look at the national anthem, we look at the pledge and all the documents that we have at the very beginning of the formation of a nation. It is obvious when we chose green, white, green, we were speaking, but have we defined it? So the beginning of leadership is vision. Clear light. Let there be light. There was chaos. God said, let there be light. Whether in any religion, everybody believes in illumination as a beginning of a pathway. So leadership must have vision. Nigeria has not defined herself, and as Auntie Alera clearly says, how do we know and follow if we don't have an idea? And vision is not created by the individual who comes into politics. That is the narrative that must stop. A nation must have a general vision. Each state must have her own vision, and each leader that comes in, no matter how many agendas they have, 10-point agenda, manifestos, everything must follow, tail into that national vision or state vision, so that people don't come up with their hookos pocos and destroy what has already been built by a former leader, no matter how minimal it is. Somebody has to improve on what has been done, not destroy and take us back 10 years, take us back 20 years, then we're always rebuilding and rebuilding. No nation succeeds like that. There must be a national context, and all constitutions are actually built on vision. Until there is a clear vision, we cannot go forward as a nation. So our national confab is not about going through constitution, going through this, going through that. It's how do we unite a people with a shared vision, shared value, shared purpose, shared direction. Whether we are Muslim, Christians, or traditionalists, there is a common ground, and I think I heard Pastor Ladi talking about the natural laws. There are things that we must put in place. The Institute for Economics and Peace talks about 8 pillars of governance. A leader puts together from a vision a system, not an agenda, not an event, but a system. What are the systems? Who should be the custodian of systems? Should be from our own political framework, the national assemblies. What are they discussing concerning their states or within the context of a bigger nation? Nigeria is not too big to be governed. That narrative is also a lie. Nigeria 200 million is an opportunity. Brazil is big. United States is big. Do you know how many parliamentary leaders are in China? China has over almost 3,000, 2,000 plus parliamentary leaders in China who are leading the country from all the provinces and locations. You can't have a big nation like ours and people are not participating in the democracy of a nation. We need to have leaders all over the place. We just have 774 local government, and I believe we should have more so that we get to the grassroots faster. But even the local government definition, what is the vision of the local government? A nation that does not have a vision will be indisciplined, will have corruption. Let me tell you, all nations have corruption. Corruption is not the major matter arising. The major matter arising is centered in the National Orientation Office. It is centered in the Ministry of Information. We need to create the narrative called Nigeria. A lot of us do not believe we are Nigerians. We are still into our tribal security, thinking that within our tribe, oh, let me do it for my people, my people, my people. No, we are Nigerians. When you travel abroad, your passport is not about where you come from as a tribe. It's about being in Nigeria. And every nation in history that has ever succeeded, to the modern nations of Singapore and South Korea and many other nations coming up, even like United Arab Emirates, they came to a national cohesion of vision. And before they could get there, there were 2 years. Singapore had 2 years of a conversation of their national vision, what the people should know, what they should do. So to the taxi driver, the housekeeper in the hotel, to everybody in the nation. They understood. One thing was clear, that a nation is at the center of our soul. Nationhood is godliness. Whether you are on any side of the aisle, nations is what life is about. And a people that do not recognize that fact, that they are so individualistic, especially the elite class of Nigeria, we're talking about governance, the elite class of Nigeria, we should look at ourselves. Are we serving for the interest of Nigeria? An Israeli goes abroad, he does not introduce his business first, he introduces his country. The pride of this country is that every state has something to offer. Every state can do something. There is nothing extraordinary about what is happening in Nigeria. Nations have gone through their quagmire. They built out of it by smart leaders, not by spirits, not angels. Like I always say in the class of the Institute for National Transformation, angels and spirits do not build societies. Societies are built by leaders who have the audacity, the sagacity, putting all their effort, their time, their treasure, and their life for a nation. Okay. And today we want to challenge us as we go into 2025. We can do better. Okay. We have the capacity to lead. Everywhere we go, look at the young man that won the race car thing in Nigeria. The other young man winning something, Nigerian. Doctors, Nigeria. Experts, Nigeria. So who told us that we cannot build a nation? Okay. It's just that we have never been taught. Okay. We have never been told what it takes to build a nation. And this is the time for decisions to be made at all quarters, not just at the presidency, but everywhere in the nation. Okay.
Mr. Korea, you want to add anything to that before I ask you your question?
I mean, my thinking is that she's done, great justice with the way she had brought in leadership being a sort of concept, a concept that has to be understood by every Nigerian. In fact, it was Dr. Miles Monroe who defined leadership in a very powerful way about 2012, when I had the honor of hosting him in the city of Owerri, talking to 1,500 people, and he stated, I quote him, he said, leadership is the ability to influence, motivate, drive a group of people towards a particular direction by inspiration, not intimidation or manipulation. So what it therefore means that the leadership stems from the fact that every human being that is listening to me today can become a leader, which means everyone a leader. Imagine the possibility when every Nigerian is a leader, not driven by the concept of position. Oh, those who are in politics, they are the ones who are the leader. So I'm a member of National Assembly because I've been elected as such. I'm now a leader, so everybody calls me leader, even when I have deficits of the leadership qualities that is needed for me to be able to change things in my constituency. So when you look at it from the perspective of where she's coming from, I'm excited that she started the conversation from that foundation, and I'll be glad, to build upon that.
Yeah. Mr. Korea, you have said about a leader being able to guide and motivate people in a particular direction. Now, let's look at...
We're not hearing her.
...the office of the citizen. Are we, as citizens, looking at our leaders critically enough and demanding of them that which they're supposed to do as leaders? Is the office of the citizen efficient? Is it effective enough?
It depends. It depends on the quality of the citizen. I mean, one of the challenging things that I've understood here since 31 years ago, when I was only 19 years old and started my journey for leadership development, I just suddenly realized that, if you say, oh, everybody, you're a citizen, let's make things happen. People will come to the table, some not knowing what to do, because they have not, first of all, become. So if our school system, the way it's designed, primary, secondary, university, has not given us a foundation where people can start actually learning leadership from their family unit to the school unit system, where leadership is taught. Investment in leadership is made. I would never forget an experience I had in America a couple of years ago. I was invited by the American government in a program they call IVLP. I was one of the 4 Africans who made that list, 27 from around the world. These are people who have brought in for 1 month under IVLP to spend 1 month to understand what makes America work from the leadership development perspective. And a young man they brought about 100 young people to spend time with us in a dinner. And a young man from, I think it's from his high school from New York. His name is Aaron. He said, Mr. Linus Okore, what do you do for a living? And I told him, I am a leadership coach. I'm grooming leaders for Africa. And the young man simply said to me, sir, can I and my friends raise money for your work? I was shocked because it was something that I had never experienced before. So what did I realize from that meeting? Number one, the young man had been taught volunteerism, the meaning of volunteerism. He has been taught the meaning of service. He has been taught the meaning of patriotism. They have taught this young person in their school curriculum.
That's right.
And every local government has a budget. Each county has a budget for leadership development. Each state has budget for it. So the young man has been experiencing leadership conferences from very early age. And so I realized that the American system had huge investment preparing these young people to be citizens.
Yes.
To be leaders who can question the system, or when things are not working, they have the capacity to come to the table to actually bring the knowledge to the public. Take, for instance, if a young man doesn't know exactly what he's about in the first place, if a person doesn't have a purpose for waking up, sleeping becomes interesting. So this guy doesn't know what he's about. So tell me, what is he going to look out for? When people step up to lead in whatever positions, will stomach infrastructure not overshadow the qualities of leadership based on who the citizens are in their concept, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their mindset, or what they believe in? So what is important for me in 2025 will be this. I would want the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to, like never before, bring out huge budget, 10 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion, and say for 2025, I want a group of you who are passionate about leadership development. I want all of you to come together and take the message of leadership development across Nigeria, the rural communities, wherever young people are, wherever leaders are. The political class will sit down, compulsorily sit down and learn what leadership is about.
Just a second. You
That's
touched on
what we need.
Yeah, you touched on the constituencies that I was taking you to. Number one, young community. Number two, the rural communities. Last night I was part of I saw on Channels Television an episode of Hard Copy, where Professor Oyelare Yinka was talking about an initiative of the federal government, of the AFDB with the federal government, which the federal government is guaranteeing some facilities for states. And they're talking about how they're going to integrate the rural communities into that initiative in a way that it's not just something elitist, it's something that is going to go really down there. The understanding of leadership to the young people and in the rural communities, so that we can have a bottom-up leadership approach. How do you think we can achieve that?
Like I said clearly, there are already human beings in this country right now who leadership development is their forte, is their calling.
Yeah, I know, I get that, but if you can give us a direction, just a second, Mr. Okori, if you can give us a direction, how? Because it starts with accepting. The people, not the people who are going to fund it, not the government, the people to whom the message is going to go, what should be their first take? What is it that's going to allure them to this whole concept of leadership?
No. The point I'm making is this, sir, is that, there has to be, first of all, a defined vision on what we want to accomplish. If we want to grow a critical mass of young people into the leadership knowledge system, starting from the grassroots, then you have to take people who not politicians, not people, portmanteau carrying people who don't understand what leadership is all about. Take people who are tested, proven, and invest real money to say, go into the local communities, design your programs, and invest in these young people from their mindset transformation. Transform their mindset, give them the definition of leadership that is impactful, and let them imbibe it in their system. They begin to see that, oh, wow, they are leaders in their own right. So when those wicked people come to during politics to deceive them with stomach infrastructure related issues, they will they say, no, we don't need this. These are the qualities we're looking out for. And those who have those qualities will enjoy the votes of those kinds of people. And not only that, these people, when they find themselves, you can discover that they will begin to be part of the community. They'll begin to help the community grow. Some of them will begin to develop visions for their own lives. That they can grow systems, grow organizations, grow companies within those local systems itself. So they become useful, become servants, become servant leaders, become leaders who are adding value to the system, community developers, because they have understood that leadership is not about them. That leadership is about service.
All right.
That knowledge has to be understood clearly. That's the point I'm making.
I get that. So let me take the same question to Ms. Beniche, but speak to young ladies. Their responsibility in the rural communities cannot be undermined. Let's not even play with it. I had a grandmom who farmed herself. The dad went to farm, mom went to farm as well. And even now, there are initiatives, international, global funding for rural communities, initiatives by rural communities for women and children. Even the AFDB has initiatives like that with bias for women and children. And it takes some measure of leadership understanding and accepting that they have the leadership and they have to lead. Speak to the possibility of that. How do we take that from the urban Nigeria to rural communities and to minimize rural-urban migration?
Excellent question. And I think, like Mr. Okori has already begun to say, one of the things that create change is giving people hope and vision. And at the rural level, we need to let people know that all is not lost. How? First and foremost, in developing the human mind is to give the mind vision and hope. What does that mean? The people need to see the possibilities. And possibilities are taught. Possibilities are not just caught, it is taught. What is this possibility? Every female is actually a leader. You carried a child and you gave birth and you have to raise that child. That is leadership. And so every female is not a second-class citizen of Nigeria, is also the contributor. Leadership is about contributing. One of the things about rural Nigeria is that we need to organize them more into like groups and cooperative. We need to look at the model of the Bangladesh acting president right now. His name slipped my mind, Mohammed or something like that. We need to, UNISA. We need to look at that model, as it were, where women were put in groups at the rural level and given incentive, financial incentive with conditions. In actual fact, his program had conditions. One of the conditions for you to receive finances is that, number one, you have to have a clean environment. You must have dug a pit toilet. Your children must be in school. There were conditions for those finances. It has to be the carrot and the stick. Because at rural Nigeria, we still have a high level, based on our population, our level of illiteracy is too high. And Linkwai said, the precondition for democracy, most African nations did not meet it. What are those preconditions? One of the greatest preconditions for democracy is education, basic education. I was in the bank a few days ago, and a gentleman, they were filling a form. They were filling the form for him. So I said to him, Oga, this is not good that you do not know how to read or write. It doesn't mean you should go to university. But the basic capacity to read and write, to count numbers and to write is given to human beings. So in rural Nigeria, we need education bottom up. The classroom education cannot cut it. We need unconventional education. Under the tree, using solar laptops, or what do they call it now? Tablets, solar tablets because of electricity issues. We need unconventional ways that one teacher can teach 1,000 children across the nation. One individual somewhere in the corner of the globe can quickly dispense knowledge, but that knowledge must come with incentive. People must also eat. So therefore, in organizing them, those who will be doing the potato planting, beans planting, other agricultural ways and preservation, and they see industry coming into their village and they are a supply conduit to that industry, it becomes a chain and a system. Leadership is about building a system. I repeat, it's not an event. If you're a leader, you must come with a system from grassroots, okay? Baby girl, young man, because it's not enough. I don't believe in the training of just the girl child. The boy child also needs it, because a lot of the narcissism that we are seeing in leadership and egocentrism came from that child, male child, who thinks that he's not committed to a nation, he can do as he pleases. So we need to bring them up from the grassroots. As those fundings are coming, it has to come with a clear vision. You may have $1 billion. If the clear vision is not clear, and building systems from the technical level into the practical level must be a gamut of strategies. We're talking about strategies of leadership. It's not it's not a talk shop. We would teach, practicalize, educate, and sustain. But within the sector right now, if the president, from next year, all industries must be pushed towards rural Nigeria, close to the production area. There are those who are probably good with the snail farming. How do we package snail farming for export? Every export must always have the percentage for consumption, because India made that mistake.
So essentially, madam, you're talking about sectoral approach, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, we have just about a minute.
Sector by sector, group by group,
yes,
cell by cell.
I
then
think
together we are
system,
building state by state.
I think that system already kind of exists, because they have community development associations, and they have trade unions. Okay, you have pepper sellers association, you know, stuff like that kind of already exists.
Talk shop.
Yeah.
No, so, they are not systems, they are events.
Okay.
They have not been systematized as they should.
Okay.
As things are done at the national level.
Maybe that is where the initiative, the intervention should come in, because those structures already exist. It's putting the system to make them work that you're talking about.
Yes, so, to make them potent and accelerate.
Okay. All right. So now, in closing, Mr. Okorie, what would be your recommendation, particularly to the state governments, because that's where many of these people live? You have 10 seconds.
I have seen, I've cited some of the budgets of state governments, and I have not seen a lot of budgets on leadership development, specifically, because I see state government invest so much money in machines, giving young people, they call it empowerment of all sorts.
Okay, all right.
Most of those things add no sustainable value. So what they can complement it will be huge investment in leadership development. The mindset of young people in the state, once they transform, they will find themselves and then make a big difference.
All right then, thank you. Madam, 10 seconds.
I mean, I totally agree. We need smart empowerment.
Okay.
We can't just say we are doing empowerment without education and without human capital development. And the first part of it is that leadership and capacity to sustain life and create systems that are in 1,000 years still exist.
All right.
And somebody else is picking it up from there.
Nation building and women leadership consultant, and she's of the Institute for National Transformation. as well as Mr. Linus Okorie, leadership consultant, both of whom joined us from our studio in Abuja. Thank you very much. And once again, season's greetings to you both.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you very much, Shanice.
And we'll take a short break now. And when we come back,
New Year resolution.
you know all those things that you say to yourself at the beginning of the year?
I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop this.
Okay, we'll look at them. See you in just a moment.